1번. 다음 글에 드러난 데이브의 심경 변화로 가장 적절한 것은?
Dave sat up on his surfboard and looked around. He was the last person in the water that afternoon. Suddenly something out toward the horizon caught his eye and his heart froze. It was every surfer's worst nightmare, the fin of a shark. And it was no more than 20 meters away. He turned his board toward the beach and started kicking his way to the shore. Shivering, he gripped his board tighter and kicked harder. I'm going to be okay, he thought to himself. I need to let go of the fear. 5 minutes of terror that felt like a lifetime passed before he was on dry land again. Dave sat on the beach and caught his breath. His mind was at ease. He was safe. He let out a contented sigh as the sun started setting behind the waves.
2번. 다음 글에 드러난 아이의 심경으로 가장 적절한 것은?
I walked up to the little dark brown door and knocked. Nobody answered. I pushed on the door carefully. When the door swung open with a rusty creak, a man was standing in a back corner of the room. My hands flew over my mouth as I started to scream. He was just standing there, watching me. As my heart continued to race, I saw that he had also put his hands over his mouth. Wait a minute, it was a mirror. I took a deep breath and walked past a table to the old mirror that stood in the back of the room. I felt my heartbeat returning to normal, and calmly looked at my reflection in the mirror.
3번. 다음 글에 드러난 아이의 심경 변화로 가장 적절한 것은?
On December 6th, I arrived at University Hospital in Cleveland at 1000 a.m. I went through the process of admissions. I grew anxious because the time for surgery was drawing closer. I was directed to the waiting area, where I remained until my name was called. I had a few hours of waiting time. I just kept praying. At some point in my ongoing prayer process, before my name was called, in the midst of the chaos, an unbelievable peace embraced me. All my fear disappeared. An unbelievable peace overrode my emotions. My physical body relaxed in the comfort provided, and I looked forward to getting the surgery over with and working hard at recovery.
4번. 다음 글에 드러난 라이언의 심경 변화로 가장 적절한 것은?
Ryan, an 11-year-old boy, ran home as fast as he could. Finally, summer break had started. When he entered the house, his mom was standing in front of the refrigerator, waiting for him. She told him to pack his bags. Ryan's heart soared like a balloon. Pack for what? Are we going to Disneyland? He couldn't remember the last time his parents had taken him on a vacation. His eyes beamed. You're spending the summer with Uncle Tim and Aunt Gina. Ryan groaned. The whole summer? Yes, the whole summer. The anticipation he had felt disappeared in a flash. For 3 whole miserable weeks, he would be on his aunt and uncle's farm. He sighed.
5번. 다음 글에 드러난 아이의 심경으로 가장 적절한 것은?
It was a day I was due to give a presentation at work, not something I do often. As I stood up to begin, I froze. A chilly, pins and needles feeling crept over me, starting in my hands. Time seemed to stand still as I struggled to start speaking, and I felt a pressure around my throat, as though my voice was trapped and couldn't come out. Gazing around at the blur of faces, I realized they were all waiting for me to begin, but by now I knew I couldn't continue.
6번. 다음 글에 드러난 에번의 심경으로 가장 적절한 것은?
Evan's eyes opened wide and his mouth made the shape of an O, which happened whenever something surprised him. You don't mean we're leaving Sydney? He asked. His mother had just told him they were leaving Sydney for his father's work. But what about school? Said Evan, interrupting her, a thing he knew he was not supposed to do, but which he felt he would be forgiven for on this occasion. And what about Carl and Daniel and Martin? How will they know where I am when we want to do things together? His mother told him that he would have to say goodbye to his friends for the time being, but that she was sure Evan would see them again. Say goodbye to them? Say goodbye to them? He kept repeating himself, sounding more and more anxious with every repetition.
7번. 다음 글에 드러난 테드의 심경 변화로 가장 적절한 것은?
One Friday afternoon, Ted was called to the Vice President of Human Resources. Ted sat down, beaming in anticipation. Today was the big day and this meeting would mark a turning point in his career. Ted felt sure that it was for his promotion, and that the Vice President would make him the marketing manager. Ted, there is no easy way to say this. Ted suddenly realized this meeting wasn't going to be as he expected. Ted's mind went blank. The vice president continued, Ted, I know you've desperately wanted this promotion. But we decided Mike is more suitable. Ted just sat there, frozen. He felt as if he had been hit by a truck. Don't panic. All he was able to do was repeat that sentence over and over to himself.
8번. 다음 글에 드러난 아이의 심경으로 가장 적절한 것은?
Hours later, when my back aches from sitting, my hair is styled and dry. And my almost invisible makeup has been applied. Ash tells me it's time to change into my dress. We've been waiting until the last minute, afraid any refreshments I eat might accidentally fall onto it and stain it. There's only 30 minutes left until the show starts. And the nerves that have been torturing Ash seem to have escaped her, choosing a new victim in me. My palms are sweating, and I have butterflies in my stomach. Nearly all the models are ready. Some of them already dressed in their 19th century costumes. Ash tightens my corset.
9번. 다음 글에 드러난 로의 심경 변화로 가장 적절한 것은?
Ro jumps for joy when he finds a cave. Because he loves being in places where so few have ventured. At the entrance he keeps taking photos with his cell phone. To show off his new adventure later. Coming to a stop on a rock a few meters from the entrance. He sees the icy cave's glittering view. He says, incredibly beautiful. Stretching his hand out to touch the icy wall. Suddenly, his footing gives way and he slides down into the darkness. He looks up and sees a crack of light about 20 meters above him. Phone for help, he thinks. But he realizes there's no service this far underground. He tries to move upward but he can't. He calls out, is anyone there? There's no answer.
10번. 다음 글에 드러난 세디의 심경으로 가장 적절한 것은?
The rain was more than a quick spring shower. Because in the last 10 minutes, it had only gotten louder and heavier. The thunder was getting even closer. Sadie and Lauren were out there with no rain gear, no shelter, and standing in the midst of too many tall trees or lightning rods. Sadie looked up, trying to see if the black cloud was moving. But it was no longer just one cloud. It appeared as though the entire sky had turned dark. Their innocent spring shower had turned into a raging thunderstorm. Maybe we should go back the direction we came from, Sadie said, panicked. Do you know which way we came? Lauren asked, her eyes darting around. Sadie's heart fell. Sadie realized with anxiety that she didn't even know where she'd taken her last 10 steps from. Every angle looked exactly the same. Every tree a twin to the one beside it. Every fallen limb mimicking 10 others.